Have you thought of the big question of like, what do you work for? Like, what's the purpose of like, how does it tie to like your own passions and what you do and what you want to do? Like do you think about retirement like same way as like the traditional census? I know you don't, but like at 65, retire and work your whole life until then, and like,
no.
What do you work for, and what's the point of waiting until 65? Like, I mean, you haven't done that.
That's an American thing for sure. I like the Japanese thing around like you find your, can't remember the word, but
it's a great word. I don't know it either.
Yeah.
But
you're something with an I. I don't remember.
We'll put it down here.
Yep.
Here's the word.
But it's basically just means like your passion.
Right.
What do you want to do?
Right. They don't even have a word for retirement, actually.
Yeah, they don't retire.
Right.
So it's like, what do you do that's like part of your passion, why you're here, how it adds value to the community, that kind of stuff, which I think is really cool. I mean, the thing in the US is I think so many people take a job and just stay in it their whole life, and they maybe don't love it. And the reality is not everybody gets to like do exactly what they want to do, but like, I say that, but like, why? Why can't everybody do what they want to do? Like, I don't know. So like, I think connecting with what is it that you're interested in and you don't feel like you work. And I've not done this to be clear, but I will say like, I remember making a choice, like a decision in college where I was thinking about like med school or like architecture, like these specific lanes. And I kind of chose business because I was like, I don't call it like a knowing myself of like, I don't want to make a decision, but also like, I like going on different adventures. Like, I think life is kind of rich in diversity of like exploring different parts of it and like getting deep into one thing and then deep into another, and like, you know, diversity is the spice of life kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And so like, I was like, business is interesting because I can go work for a travel company. So I went to Disney and I love travel and I love to explore the world. Disney was like an interesting, both entertainment and like travel company, but I was focused on the theme park stuff that I could go play around with. And then I went to music, another passion of like, I could go like all these venues and music festivals and like see all these concerts and stuff. And like, to me, like that was like highly valued. Mm-hmm. So back to retiring or like what next? Like, I don't know if I call it retirement. What is making me curious? What am I interested in going to do next? How can I give back and do something positive for the world? Like if I can find the cross section of that kind of stuff. One of everything costras with cheese con queso.
Oh, you doing an accent right now?
See?
See.
One of everything just taco. Solo tacos. I think a lot of people can be very successful because they're super maniacally focused on like this outcome. Mm-hmm. I want to be rich and retire at X. Great. How are you going to go about that? How do you break that down? And if that fuels you and you're excited about it, I think that's awesome. Mm-hmm. I think I definitely felt like that. I was like, straight out of school, I was always like, all right, how do I retire? Like, but that to some degree means you don't love what you're doing today, which is like a thing to wrestle with. Mm-hmm. Like, could you be doing something else today? Or are you just viewing it as a means to an end?
Right.
And that's a tough question. I don't know. I mean, it's both can work, right? As long as you don't do a means to an end until you die and you never got to the end.
It's a chess game, but I think the end, like you do have to have an end game.
But so like for you stopped early.
Right.
Most people don't even do that.
Right.
You chased some success and got to a point and then you felt like, all right, I'm going to take a break. You feel comfortable enough. 99%, everybody you know, everybody I know that has made plenty of money and could retire.
Still there.
They're still there and they're just spending more and their lifestyle just changes.
Yeah.
Just ratchets up the whole way.
Yeah.
That's a weird thing. So I think sometimes when you tell yourself, I'm just working towards this and then I'll be happy, then I'll be arrived at whatever, you're just lying to yourself and you're probably gonna spend most of your life kind of unhappy.
Yeah.
You gotta figure out how to like enjoy that day.
Yeah.
And if goals align with that, where you're enjoying the journey, you're enjoying becoming a better salesperson, learning about that, mm-hmm. learning about a thing or like meeting new people, like
the process.
Awesome. Yeah.
The process.
If you enjoy that process, I think that's like that's life. That's the sweetness of just enjoying the whole thing.
Creating this show and documenting this process of leaving your career at any point, but you could argue even like at its peak is maybe even harder than like you have a good reason because the ship's going down anyways to take a break. So there's, you know, all elements of that, but I think that I could genuinely provide a lot of value according to my thoughts of how like this journey of leaving my career and my job for at least temporary, if not for good, because to me, like it's to answer those deeper questions that are like the questions in life, and that a job can be once you get past like to a certain point on Maslow's hierarchy, you have the luxury of thinking about. It's like statements like this: once I leave my job when I'm 60 or whenever that is, I will be less anxious. I will be really present with my wife or the people that I care about in life. I will take up, you know, I gave up volleyball or tennis or whatever because I couldn't do it consistently because I had to be at sales conferences or whatever. Like all these things that we tell ourselves that we assume for the most part are just true, probably don't even give ourselves time to examine it at the time. And what I think that I, again, could bring value to like anybody that would listen to the show is like, I can answer a bit from my perspective of which ones are true, like almost like a control experiment. Like, okay, I've removed the job. Now I can tell you for sure that I'm still anxious or still have stress and worries and this and that. That has not gone away. They've changed, and then there's good stress and bad stress, but you know, all those things don't necessarily go away. I still have FOMO personally of like not being able to dedicate all my time into learning salsa and learning how to wake surf and do like 5 different things, because at the end of the day, you do have to pick.
You have to pick
to have any depth in anything. So I'm still gonna have FOMO to a certain degree without this job. Like, and then there are certain things that for sure, once you don't have the job, afford you, like you are what you hoped you would be. For sure, there's also good stuff too. Like I will be more present with my whatever kids or dogs, or go on more trips and live life to its fullest. That's been one of the most eye-opening parts of this journey of like documenting leaving a career that's going great and leaving all your friends that seem to be just kind of could feel like you're leaving them. You're leaving a part of your identity behind. 2 brisket, so 2 suadero, 2 carnitas. Yeah, that's gotta be brisket.
No,
for sure.
All right, well, let's eat it.
Yeah, let's do it. I was most probably, if I'm being honest, like worried about leaving an identity behind and my friends.
Yeah.
You know, are they work friends? Or are they that's life friends? I think, and I think most of these people are like, you know, I still talk to them. Like I feel very honored that they, you know, if they're true friends, like it's, you know, I don't have the business card anymore, but we're still, you get me, you know?
The ones that'll last will last too. And I mean, but life is like that too. Like you go on journeys with people and like have very close friendships that last for some amount of time, and then they don't, because life happens and people go different directions and paths diverge. But that's definitely a special, I think, part of life. And it is a factor when you're like thinking about, should I leave a company or not? Like that makes life rich.
Right.
And it is hard to, you know, when you make a decision about like, I'm leaving this job to do what I want to do, you are sacrificing some of those relationships. So it's like, that's not easy. It's not, one's not right? Like they're both valuable in different ways.
Right.
But so I hear you on that. I think that, and also in the US, like just to add on to what you're saying, like identity is so tied to job, more so than any other country, and it's kind of awful. And even our healthcare is tied to it, and it's like it's just kind of shitty. And everywhere else, it's like people are like, "What are you up to? What do you like? What's your hobbies?" And here it's like, "What do you do?" Like it's just a different perspective on like what identity is tied to. Mm-hmm. So some of that is like good to be aware of, so you can, because like just like all things in life, you can feel an emotion like, oh, I'm really upset right now, but I gotta calm down. Like you can be like, oh, I really feel sad because my identity's tied to this job, but like, okay, I gotta temper that because I know that's just kind of this American culture thing that I'm like indoctrinated into.
Right.
And like being aware of it's half the battle.
On a positive note, you could be like, well, change that. Like, is that because you only talk to that so-and-so at the sales conference or whatever? Like, call them right now. You know what I mean? Like, start a relationship outside of the...
Yeah, if that relationship's valuable to you, then do it outside of that.
Yeah, make an effort. Even towards the end, it's like, okay, to do that. Of, you know, if you worked with the guy for 5 years and then you know in the last year you're going to leave, like, and you've only had, if you really think about it, work-forced conversations, even if they were personal conversations. I started to do that of like, you know, so it's not like weird, it's a mental barrier. It can be the first conversation you have like on a just total personal note after you leave, but you know what I mean? Like setting a pattern of like, hey, Zach, just wanted to call to say, how you doing, buddy? You're like not asking me about quota or new products or nothing. Yeah, like what's wrong with you, right? But like you have that quick exchange, then it is, in my head at least, it was way less difficult, I think, on both sides to be like, hey man, I'm gonna be in Nashville coming up, like, can we hang? And it's not like the first time I've ever talked to you other than, you know.
So they're like, what am I being sold here?
Yeah.
And you're selling future relationship.
That's what I always be fucking selling.
Yeah. So you're like, well, how can I close some future hangs?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it is.
B-roll?
Because you're always...
Yeah, this is like Armageddon too.
Did I wrap any questions up?
No, but power of editing, we'll figure it out. Some hard cuts.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some hard cuts.
That's what I think about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Just throw that in there whenever.